Commerce and Labor is now going to meet. Will the clerk call the roll?
Senator Norman. Here. Senator Newman. Here. Senator Obenchain. Senator Lucas.
Here.
Senator Spruill. Here. Senator Edwards. Here. Senator Deeds. Here. Senator Barker. Here. Senator Marsden. Here. Senator Eben. Senator Lewis. Here. Senator Servo. Here. Senator Mason. Here. Senator Bell. Here. Senator Saslaw.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
We have one bill. That's Senator McClellan's, and I think the first order of business would be, Senator McClellan, for you to move to reconsider the vote by which we adopted the previous substitute.
Yes, sir.
So I yield to Senator McClellan.
Since I'm not on the committee, I think someone else needs.
Okay. Okay. All right. There's a motion and a second to reconsider 5118. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? All right. The primary bill is before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a new substitute which was handed out to the members this morning. It's dated today at 8:21 a.m. and I believe it should be on the system by now. So I would ask that the new substitute be adopted.
So moved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The substitute is before us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. With this substitute, this bill does two things pretty narrowly. First, it codifies a payment plan requirement adopted by the State Corporation Commission in its June 12, 2020 order that extended the disconnection moratorium. As adopted in the substitute, this payment plan is up to 12 months, which is what was in the SCC order. It is essentially the same, but limited to residential customers. In that order, the Commission required payment plans for all customers, but this is just limited. This bill is just limited to residential customers. This bill does extend that to municipal-owned utilities. However, I understand this morning there's been a lot of concern raised by the municipal utilities who were not subject to that SCC order, and I'm willing to exempt the municipal-owned utilities from the payment plan provision. That is not in this substitute because that concern, that objection was not raised to me before this substitute was printed. The second thing that the bill does is requires all utilities, including municipal utilities, to provide certain information that would allow the General Assembly to identify what is the total cost of customers who have not been paying their bills since March 12th by utility. What is the total cost of COVID-related costs and related items that these utilities have been incurred? The utilities subject to the SCC jurisdiction were authorized by another order to book those costs for purposes of recovering them in a rate case at some future time. So they've already been collecting those costs. And the SCC's moratorium order required those utilities to report certain data to the SCC. So what this bill would do is say the SCC has to give us that data. They've already been collected, us being the chairs of this committee, the House Committee, and the Appropriations and Finance. And then would require the municipal utilities to give us similar information, which is FOIA-able. So if we wanted to file FOIA requests, we could do that. But I think it's more appropriate for them to just provide that data to the General Assembly so that we can identify the scope of the number of customers unable to pay their bills due to their financial situation due to COVID, and the costs that the utilities are incurring by not getting paid, and their COVID-related costs. When we last met, the co-ops and then eventually the gas utilities and the water utilities wanted this bill to include a cost recovery mechanism, which I was open to doing. A couple of things have happened since then. Number one, there was a deal reached between the co-ops, gas, and water, and the Poverty Law Center. That deal did not include APCO, Dominion, or municipal localities, or the Office of the Attorney General. That deal was more than the costs that would be incurred to put a payment plan in place, which most of those utilities already are doing under SEC order. It included all COVID-related costs, which, quite frankly, I find pretty broad. I don't know what those costs are. I don't know how much those costs are. When asked when they would seek to recover those costs, what became clear to me was not before we are here for the regular session. When asked why they need cost recovery in this bill, I was given two reasons. One, because the original bill extended the payment plans they were already required to give to 24 months. That this bill no longer does that. It goes to the 12 months already required by the State Corporation Commission. Two, I was told because there is a proposed extension of the moratorium in the governor's budget. There's also language, it is my understanding, that is being discussed in that budget for cost recovery. So I felt if we're going to do cost recovery during special session, which quite frankly I think is too complicated because we don't know what the costs are, how much they are, how many customers, and how each utility is being affected, and I keep being told we can't have a one-size-fits-all method of cost recovery. If we are going to address it in special session, it should be in the bill that extends the moratorium, not a bill that essentially codifies what most of those utilities are already doing now. So that is a summary of what the substitute does, why the substitute takes cost recovery out, and that's the bill.
So essentially, the bill as it is now, the substitute, essentially codifies the SEC rulemaking of last June. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and have we adopted the amendment taking out the municipalities?
Not yet.
Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt an amendment to the substitute that would remove the municipalities from the bill. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, it would remove the municipalities from the payment plan.
The
part of
payment
bill.
plan.
Yes.
Right. Excuse me. Any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
When the patron says payment plan, what she means is that the payment plan would not be required in this bill, but the reporting, so that there
Right.
would be the requirement that they still report what their bad debt or those related to COVID bad debt was. Is that correct?
I believe that is. Is that correct?
That is correct, and
Senator
their COVID-related costs as a utility.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Sirvell.
Yes, Senator Serville.
I don't think we've voted on the motion yet
No, we have to adopt the
to remove the
to remove
municipal utilities.
municipalities. No, but that's why we had the discussion of the proposed.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of removing the municipalities from the what was it, cost recovery provision, they still have to report the data. Say aye.
Aye.
All right. Those opposed? All right. The amendment's adopted. Any other questions of the patron? Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator McClellan, could you review for the committee what your knowledge of the budget amendment that also addresses this issue that is being put forth by the administration?
I don't have it in front of me, but from memory, the budget amendment extended the moratorium to 60 days after the expiration of the state of emergency. It included a payment plan that essentially codified what the State Corporation Commission ordered. And I don't know if the original language included cost recovery, but I know there was amended language that the administration provided to all of the utilities that I understand is still in negotiation to a certain extent, that would have allowed cost recovery. I have not seen the latest version of that, so I don't know what specific costs it would allow to recover or how, but I do know that discussion is ongoing with respect to the budget amendment.
Mr. Chairman, just speaking to the bill, I'm hearing from any number of folks in the business community who deal with utilities. There seems to be a lot of confusion. I spoke yesterday with some folks who deal with APCO, and because they're in the middle of a rack, they're not able to do cost recovery. Dominion obviously has deeper resources than the co-ops do. These co-ops operate on very thin margins, and without some kind of certainty around cost recovery, it puts them in a very, very difficult situation. I appreciate the fact that this is rolled back from 24 to 12 months, but I am just uncertain here as to what the ramifications of this bill will be, how it will line up with the budget amendment that's coming through, and I'm just concerned about moving forward here. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
I think Senator McClellan, even without this bill, doesn't the SCC ruling provide for 12 months?
Mr. Chair, the ruling provides for 12 months until the SCC's moratorium expires on September 16th. If we want payment plans to continue beyond September 16th, then we have to act.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lewis.
Just speaking to the bill, Mr. Chairman. I understand the importance of this bill. I want to vote for this bill. And I understand and applaud the necessity of the goal of this bill. But like Senator Marsden, I've heard from so many folks who have grave concerns about the cost recovery piece and other things. And I applaud the patron. She has worked tirelessly since we got here to try and made what started out as an unacceptable bill acceptable. And the other troubling part is, over the last couple of days, we were on the cusp of addressing these issues. And then last night, at around 9 o'clock or so, the bottom fell out. After everybody left here the day before thinking that we were postured in such a way that we could address these concerns and move forward in a responsible fashion to obtain this very necessary and important goal of the legislation. The utilities legislation is always complex, and obviously this is no exception, except now its complexities are compounded by the fact that we're in a bubble here and unable really to communicate and get the same people, get all the stakeholders actually in a physical room to hash these things out. And so, if we don't get this right, it will have some significant impacts on these utilities that serve all of our constituents as well as the ratepayers in our communities. So I want to vote for it. I hope between now and the time, if it gets to the floor, there'll be progress made. But at this point, with these uncertainties and with the fact that the process was apparently went awry at the 11th hour, I'm just not going to be able to vote for it today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman and then Senator Eben.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the patron a question. I kind of think that we're close to where Senator Lewis and Senator Marston were. I thought we were close to having soup, and then there wasn't. Just a couple questions, Mr. Chairman. At first, do you feel there's been undue pressure to get this done by today? I know we had it last one, and then you've been working hard, and we had a product of sorts yesterday. It's changed, and I know that some backed away. Is the time frame that we're operating under on this extraordinarily complex piece of legislation encumbering you? In other words, if we were to say, before we hear testimony from about 60 people, that you had more time and it was not a desire to have the bill not make it, but just that we'd have more time, maybe until next Tuesday, maybe electronic meeting or something like that, do you think that you could come back to where you could have more support and you could work this out if you gave you a few more days?
Mr. Chair, I'd answer maybe. And let me tell you where we're getting stuck. And what costs are we recovering? And why and when? And how? That is where we are getting stuck. Number one, this bill only addresses a payment plan. The deal that was struck in concept would include all of the costs that the SCC allowed the utilities to book, which includes other incremental prudently incurred costs associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know what those costs are. I don't know how big those costs are. Does that include PPE? Does that include cleaning supplies? Does that include everything the utility has had to do to address keeping its employees safe from COVID? I don't know. I don't know how big they are. And that is my heartburn with trying to craft a cost recovery mechanism today in this bill when I don't know how big they are. I've got to come up with a different cost recovery. Is it going to be a rack? Is it going to be a rider? Is it going to be in base rates? When is that going to happen? And when I asked the utilities when they would seek to recover those costs, I'm either not given an answer, I'm told at some point before our next rate case, in APCO's case, at some point before our next rate case 4 years from now, I'm told after the moratorium ends and the payment plans ends, which at that time was 24 months. So I felt it was more prudent for the General Assembly to have information on how many customers aren't paying their bills, what's the total amount of that money, what are these other costs, how big are they, what's included in them, how many late payment fees have you forgone, how many reconnection costs have you incurred? And when we know what the pot of money is, then we can take the time to figure out how do we ensure recovery in a way that does not overburden customers who we already know are struggling to pay their bills. I can't do that by today for sure. I don't have that information. I probably can't do that by next week. And so, but again, if it's the committee's will to try to figure all that out now, I felt it more appropriate to do that in the bill that extends the moratorium, which is not this one.
So if I can ask the patron a question, Mr. Chairman. If I get this right, this parallels in most cases, in particular, and one small piece I want to ask you about, the Supreme Court order of June 12th that you had passed out. Is that right?
The SCC order, yes.
SEC, I'm sorry. And then the SEC order in particular, just a small point, said that no late fees or carrying charges can be added to the arrearage, and that's what your bill says as well. Is that right?
That's right. And the major difference between my bill and the SEC order is the SEC order has a payment plan for all customers, and mine is limited to residential customers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a lot of respect for everyone's perspective on this, and like Senator Marston and Senator Lewis, I continue to hear and get reports from everybody from the munis to the associations. I align myself with the remarks of the senator from Accomack, but also I think we need to be mindful that the governor has inserted in the budget language pertaining to this, and no matter what we do on a legislative body, ultimately the language in the budget is going to override general law, and that's where I would prefer to address it.
Can I ask that? If I could just ask Senator Norman a question, you prefer to address it in general law or in the budget? I'm not quite sure what you said.
Mr. Chairman, what I said is the principle is that budget language overrides general law.
Mr. Chairman. Question for the patron. The EDRPs, have you gotten any feedback from organizations as to if this was something they could implement or how much of a burden it would be if they did?
Mr. Chair, I would answer that with the amendment excluding the munis, they are already doing this now under the SCC's June order.
Mr. Chairman, another question. He nodded. My other question is on the SCC order, could it be extended?
Mr. Chair, theoretically, but when they issued their order extending the moratorium to September 16th, they made very clear that was going to be their last extension. And the only reason they made that extension was because we are in special session. Back in July, when they had a comment period on whether to extend the moratorium at all, they made clear that eventually the moratorium is going to be unsustainable and require legislative action, which they aren't comfortable making and it's not appropriate for them to make. So they have extended the moratorium long enough to allow this body to act and have stated they will not extend it again unless we tell them to.
Thank you, Patron.
Okay. Let's have a motion, and then we'll hear from the public.
Mr. Chairman, maybe, if you don't mind, sir, maybe we can hear from the public first because it may influence the motion. There could be a motion, Mr. Chairman, that getting the information might be the right thing for this bill, and then marrying up the recovery with the extension of the moratorium might be better in the budget. So maybe that's a different way.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. So in light of several comments, Senator Newman, Senator Norman, and the patron who suggests that this may be addressed in the budget, another consideration would be for us to send it to finance to try to sync it up with what is coming in the budget or what may be there. And I just wanted to toss that out as a suggestion before we hear from the public so they would know that that could be an option as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The staff, I've got a list here of 28 people standing by for comments. I would say this because of the time. Do not take more than 1 minute to state your position and why. I hate to put this time limit, but there's 28 people who've signed up. So first that we have on the list is speaking in favor of the bill. And keep in mind, the bill has now changed dramatically from what you may have had your testimony prepared for, is Ms. Emily Piontek.
Hi, thank you, Senator. My name is Emily Piontek, and I'm with Appalachian Voices. We work on economic and social justice issues across the state of Virginia, and because of that alignment with our mission, we are supporting this bill because we think that the repayment plan gives people a time to get back on their feet. We currently have an unemployment crisis. Unemployment is at least three times as high now as it was last year, and the repayment plan is a reasonable length of time in which people can, try to get back on their feet.
Keep in mind, it's no longer 24 months, it's
I know
12.
it's no longer 24 months, and I do think that 24 months would be ideal, but 12 months at least gives people a place to start. So I would also like to, remind the commission.
Thank you very much, Ms. Piontek. The next speaker is Kim Germain. Kim Germain. Is Kim there? Are you all showing, staff, are you all showing Ms. Germain?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Ms. Germain, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is Kim Germain on behalf of Virginia LCB.
Can you speak up?
Yes, sorry about that. Currently, projections estimate that over 500,000 Virginian households are unable to pay their utility bills due to the current pandemic. Once moratoriums are lifted, those families will be saddled with significant debt. This bill works to carve a way forward, and we believe that that way forward needs to be codified in a way that allows customers to recover at a pace that gives them the space to meet all their financial obligations without foregoing basic necessities. So for that reason, Virginia LCP supports the bill.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Germain. The next speaker is Andrew Vahorn. Not in the room. The next speaker will be Carmen Bingham. Carmen Bingham.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think I got a text from her that she got dropped and her live feed is stuck.
So she's not there, all right? Next is Dana Wiggins.
Hi, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Dana Wiggins with the Virginia Poverty Law Center. So I just wanted to make sure the committee is aware, the reason that we scaled back the bill was not to put anybody out. We want to make sure that the appropriate cost recovery is there for all the utilities. But it became very clear after several different sets of negotiations, all online, as in person as you can be, on the phone or online, it became very clear that every single utility obviously has different needs around cost recovery. And all of them wanted more than just the cost recovery that was around this bill. They wanted more than just, this bill was just about repayments. They wanted cost recovery that was for all of the COVID-19 related costs. We felt like, to Senator Norman's point from the last meeting, that this might be something that is better suited, that portion of it, either better suited for more information so that we knew, or you all knew, what was needed by the utilities, but also what kind of position a lot of their customers were in, so that you all would have tools in your tool belt for when you had more time during a regular session to actually appropriately offer different options for all the different utilities that have needs. It's not our position to withhold that from utilities. It really just meant we felt like it just needed more time, and that the data provided from this bill would be offered up for you all to have more data to be able to make better decisions. We also felt that the moratorium order, just making sure that that the State Corporation Commission's order allowing those repayment plans could extend for the repayment plan portion only beyond the moratorium between now and when you all have a chance to act, would at least help keep some consistency for families, knowing that they could still enter into those plans beyond the order, which is set to expire on September 16th.
Okay.
Our goal was really to make sure that there were plans in place for families, and also so that utilities could make plans as well. We hope that the information provided in the new version of the bill, without all of the other complications, streamlines the bill and makes it easier for you all to then have more consideration.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wiggins, you need to wrap
Mr.
this up
Chairman.
right away. Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Peter Anderson, and remind you, not in the room. Try to limit your remarks to under a minute. Next is Narissa Turner. Is Ms. Turner here?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Narissa Turner, representing.
Welcome.
Thank you. The Virginia Conservation Network, and we are in support of this bill because regardless of whether or not this bill contains cost recovery language, we need to codify a way for Virginians between now and when we can address all the other economic impacts of this pandemic so that they can sustainably and affordably pay back the debt that they owe and feel confident they will be able to enter into this program as we continue to work out these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tanisha Griffin. Tanisha Griffin, Griffi. Ms. Griffin,
Hello,
are you there?
This is Tanisha Griffin. Yes, this is Tanisha Griffin.
Okay.
I'm the Environmental Policy Research Analyst at New Virginia Majority. Thank you for having me this afternoon. We are a statewide civic engagement policy advocacy organization with members across the Commonwealth who are predominantly low income and people of color. And I wanted to come before you all today to let you know that we still support SB 5118. And to the passage of the bill is very important for the communities we serve who can be more vulnerable to greater monthly energy costs, as a share of the monthly income, debt accrual, potential services connections, and housing insecurity from unpaid utility bills. And we did prefer the customer protections in the legislation that were 24 months out for debt repayment. However, we still see the bill as critical for low-income communities who take longer to recover from the economy and may also have to be paying, written debt after the state of emergency. So again, we still support the legislation, and we hope that you all will vote in favor of the measure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Griffin. Next is Trieste Lockwood.
Not in the room.
Okay. Did you say not in the room? Not in the room, okay. Next is Catherine Bond.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Catherine Bond with Dominion Energy. And recognizing that this bill affects different utilities differently, just want to let you know that Dominion Energy is supportive and thanks the patron and others for their work on the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Bond. Next is Louis Aguilar.
Morning, members. Good afternoon, members of the committee and chairman of the committee. I'm Luis Aguilar,
Welcome.
Director. I speak on behalf of our 10,000 members. I don't think I need to go into the statistics. I've done that in enough testimony. We know that it is affecting working class communities the most. But I do have a story. Jenny Herrera from Annandale. She has a 9-year-old and a baby of 3 months. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, she was not able to work and they have now been evicted. I know this is for the repayment of plans, making that emergency plans, but this, she feels that it would have helped them. And we believe that our members also would have helped them. Again, we also agree that 24 months would have been ideal, but even 12 would be necessary. I also have heard concerns that legislators need more time. Let me remind you that our communities have been suffering since February, and yet this body has yet yielded any solutions. And so we look upon you to find some solutions and to advance this bill forward. We ask you to support SB 5118, sponsored by Senator McClellan. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is from the administration, Angela Navarro. Hi, Ms. Navarro, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Angela Navarro with the administration. We do appreciate the work of Senator McClellan and the many stakeholders who have worked on this payment plan bill. As many of you have noted, the administration continues to work with the stakeholders and many of the members here on language in the budget bill to address both the utility disconnection moratorium and payment plans. But that language applies specifically during the COVID-19 pandemic. This legislation from Senator McClellan would complement that work by providing a longer-term payment plan option that would continue to assist customers who are behind on their utility payments. We look forward to continuing to work with Senator McClellan and the stakeholders on this legislation and on the complementary budget language as it moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Navarro. The next is Faith Harris.
They are not in the room, Senator.
Not in the room. Next is Arlen Bolstad. Welcome, Arlen.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm here from the State Corporation Commission along with Kim Pate, our Director of Accounting, and we're here to answer any technical questions that you and the committee members may have about this legislation.
Okay, thank you. Next is Mitchell Smiley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mitchell Smiley, representing the Virginia Municipal League.
You're with who?
The Virginia Municipal League.
Okay.
And while we have concerns about the bill as introduced and we'll need to review the amendments adopted by the committee more fully, as we assess the impact it will have on our members and we'll review our position, we look forward to working with the patron on this issue and, have no position at this time.
Okay, thank you. Next is Keith Harless.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having us today. I'm the town manager.
Can you speak up?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm town manager of the town of Pennington Gap, small municipality. We like some of the discussion earlier about some of the amendments the changes that's offered, and I'd like to take some more time to consider the amendments, what they offered, but I do as well look forward to working through these changes.
Thank you. Next is Kim Pate.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Kim Pate with the State Corporation Commission, and like Arlen Bolstad said, I'm available to answer any technical questions that you have.
All right. The next speaker is Alice Wolf.
Not in the room, Senator.
Not in the room. All right. The next speaker is Preston Bryant. Welcome, Mr. Bryant.
Chairman, good morning. Good afternoon. This is Preston Bryant, and I represent the Virginia Water and Waste Authorities Association, which is about 50 public service authorities, and also James City Service Authority, Alexandria Sanitation Authority, the Hampton Road Sanitation District. All told, it's about between 2 and 3 million customers. First, we very much appreciate the progress that this bill has taken and the improvements to it. Senator McClellan has worked very hard on this. Reducing it from 24 months to 12 months is terrific. I will note that the term municipal utilities is not defined in the code. So if when you say that municipalities has been removed, if you could be a little bit more specific, I'm assuming that means water and wastewater utilities as well as authorities, but
that's certainly the intention.
I'd like that clarification. And also, utilities have been concerned about the reporting requirements. Many utilities, or the bigger utilities, may be able to do this and to dissect the information. Smaller utilities may have to undertake extensive, if not expensive, billing software changes. We're still investigating what the impact would be and the fiscal impact to otherwise. So it was suggested that this bill might go to Senate Finance Committee, and so that that might be a good idea, so that we could see line amendments as to what municipalities being taken out actually means. So we would like to reserve right to work with the patron and learn a little bit more about potential amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, former Delegate Bryan. And Morgan Whalen is next.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Morgan Wayland with Virginia Natural Gas. We are opposed to this bill. Working with customers is a priority. We began 12-month repayment options prior to the SEC order. Any legislation that codifies a repayment plan program should include certainty on cost recovery language, and we cannot carry the regulatory uncertainty. A cost recovery vehicle does not exist in the current orders from the SEC. Just also want to point out that we are currently still in a disconnect moratorium, and our current 12-month repayment plans will extend beyond July 1st, 2021, allowing for further and broader conversations during the regular session. Thank you, and Roanoke Gas and WGL were not able to join the call, but they also would like their comments associated with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Whalen. Next is Thomas Dick.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Tom Dick with the Municipal Electric Power Association of Virginia. We've got 16 government-owned electric utilities. We have been opposed to the bill throughout. As Senator McClellan said, we had not reached any agreement. There were a lot of reasons I was prepared to speak against the bill. If I understand the bill's posture now, it does provide an exemption for municipalities and of all of it except the reporting certain information to the General Assembly. And depending on, as Mr. Bryant said, depending on what that information is, because there might be some billing system issues. Our municipalities are very small. 1 out of 4, less than 2,500 customers. Town of Wakefield's only 500. So depending on what's asked, required, there could be a cost involved in the billing systems. But if it's just the information that you want, when the General Assembly asks us for something, we're going to provide it if it's at all possible. So I would say you might not really need that part in the bill either. Our association is happy to do all we can to provide it. So our posture now is neutral depending on what's in that language that you've adopted that we haven't seen yet.
Thank you. Jeremy Bennett.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jeremy Bennett with the Virginia Association of Counties. I'd just like to say very briefly that we appreciate the hard work that Senator McClellan has done on this bill to address the concerns of our members and a number of other stakeholders. While the substitute before you today does address a number of our earlier concerns, we still do have some broad concerns about the fiscal impact that this legislation may have, but certainly look forward to continuing to work with the patron on these issues. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Next is Susan Larson.
Good afternoon, Chairman Sasloff, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this afternoon. My name is Susan Larson, and I'm with Columbia Gas of Virginia. I joined Columbia 5 years ago after retiring from the State Corporation Commission. I assure you that our customers are extremely important to us, and we are very sensitive to the challenges that they are facing and experiencing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We have nearly 1,000 employees and contractors that, as critical infrastructure employees, are essential workers that go out every day to ensure that our customers continue to receive safe and reliable service. And Columbia has implemented new extended payment plan options of up to 12 months, and we're reaching out to our customers in various ways to ensure that they are aware of those offerings, including making thousands of phone calls for assistance. And we also work with our customers on individual payment plans where appropriate. And even with all this additional outreach that we've been doing, only approximately 1% of our customers that are currently in arrears have entered into repayment plans. But our customers, as I said, are very important to us, and we will continue to work with our customers that have found themselves in a difficult situation so that they will remain our customers. Columbia has concerns with Senator McClellan's bill as currently proposed and opposes it. But we do thank Senator McClellan for working with us and other stakeholders. This is a complex issue, and if there is a further opportunity to work through the complexities of the bill, Columbia is willing to participate in those discussions to arrive at something that will work for all stakeholders. And again, thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Okay. Next is Jennifer Wally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Jennifer Wally with Troutman Pepper on behalf of the electric cooperatives. The co-ops have concerns with the removal of the cost recovery language from the bill. We're not-for-profit utilities, and the cost recovery language was a key provision for the co-ops
that since has been removed from the earlier versions of the bill that we once supported. Unfortunately, we've not had enough time to receive feedback from our 13 members on this provision. So respectfully, we are not in a position to support the new substitute at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Stephen Edgman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Stephen Edgman. I'm General Manager for Fairfax County Water Authority. With the amendment today and the clarification of that amendment, we will remain neutral to this bill, but we do look forward to working with the sponsor and members as we move forward. I will add that Fairfax Water has and will continue to work effectively with customers who are in hardship, and we have extended our payment plans to take into account those hardships, and we will continue to do so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Mike McVoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike McAvoy. I'm with the Western Virginia Water Authority. We're a water utility in Roanoke, Virginia, serving about 150,000 customers. With the amendment offered today to exempt municipal utilities, I think I have a lot less concerns about the bill, and I would echo maybe some of the comments that Preston Bryant made. And I would also ask that this bill be referred, if it's passed today, be referred to Senate Finance. It can be reconciled with the budget amendment under consideration there. And as Mr. Edgman said, we're, again, a utility that is local. We work with our customers. We have payment plans. We've actually worked with a number of our local government partners to make CARES Act money available. And I would just want to make sure that this bill does not cause any confusion or get in the way of our ability to serve our customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McVoy. The next speaker is David Clark. David, you're on.
Yes, thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Clark, representing the Virginia Oil and Gas Association and its local distribution company, gas utility members. You've heard from a couple of the members already today, so I won't repeat their comments. Just want to make a couple of points. One is now that the bill has been amended, I think we can say that none of the companies that are currently covered by the bill have been bad actors, and all of the gas utilities have been working continuously to try to work out arrangements with their customers to ensure that they remain our customers. We cannot support the bill without a cost recovery mechanism.
Oh, Jesus.
I will point out for those who may be concerned that the moratorium is going to expire. The budget language does call for the moratorium to be extended.
All right.
And then my last point is that the State Corporation Commission has made it clear that they are looking to the General Assembly for policy making on these issues. We think it's appropriate for the General Assembly to weigh in with them on a cost recovery mechanism. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll go back to Ms. Trieste Lockwood, who's now here, and then Tommy Oliver's on deck. Ms. Lockwood?
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Trieste Lockwood, and I'm here to answer any questions from the administration. Deputy Secretary Navarro had to step off. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last speaker is Tommy Oliver.
They're not in the room, Senator.
Not in the room. All right, going once, going twice. That's it. All right, next up, we've had the bill before us. We've heard testimony from the public. Any motions?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Mason.
Mr. Chairman, since there have been so many comments regarding coordinating this with what may be in the budget,
this is the best
I would move that we report and refer the bill to finance.
Second? Second. All right, there's been a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, hold on. A motion and a second that the bill be reported and referred to finance. Senator Newman and then Senator Norman.
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield to Senator Norman. I have another question. I'll yield to him.
Mr. Chairman, my comments are a little obtuse. I'm getting to the point in my legislative career where I think advocates need to appreciate that there are consequences for their discourteousness. The lady from the Virginia Poverty talked over Mr. Chairman multiple times, ignored the admonition to cut off her remarks, and was just outright rude. And for that, I am going to vote against this. I just think that her behavior needs to improve.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, my question really goes to Preston Bryant's question. I don't know if Tom Stevens is on, but it seems to me that the intent was pretty clear from you and the maker of the amendment that it would not only include municipals, but it would also include those contract municipals that are out there that have contracts with municipals. And I'm just wondering, did we clean that up right or did we not?
Well, the municipal authorities, I thought, were out of the bill.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess my question then is to you, was the motion that was made instructive, I guess, to council is the broadest possible use of municipal, which would include in municipal utilities. It would include municipal contracts. In other words, some utilities have sold their municipality, but they have a contract with it.
Senator McClellan, did you hear his question?
Mr. Chair, I did hear his question. I think the cleanest way to handle this is all of the municipals who are not subject to the SCC jurisdiction would be excluded from the payment plan. If you're under the SCC's jurisdiction and you're operating under the order from June, you would be under the bill. My understanding is that does not include any municipal utility of any kind or any contractor unless those contractors are utilities that are also regulated by the SCC, in which case they would already be doing this now.
All right, we have Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I intend to reluctantly vote no on this as a way of indicating that I think that we can perhaps get back to solving more of the issues that some of the folks who had reservations about this. This is a big deal, and I think going to the Senate Finance is not necessarily a bad idea, but I do want to say that I'm going to vote no just to make sure that everybody pays attention to making sure we get as many problems solved as we can in this legislation and that it matches up well with the budget amendment. Thank you.
The main reason, correct me if I'm wrong, for Senate Finance is to sync it with the budget amendment that was offered up by the governor. But
Mr.
anyway,
Mr. Chairman, just one more, if you don't mind.
Senator Newman.
Just one more. I think I'm close to that. I think the bill probably in its purest form should be a information collection bill, and we should sync up in a bill, whether it be the budget bill or this bill, items related to recovery and the extensions, because those two are two items that are tied together. The data collection is not. I wish this bill was just a data collection bill, or it included both the collection, because I can tell you the munis are generally out now, but the co-ops do not have the same access to the equity markets that the investor-owned utilities do. They just don't. So I think they're going to need some type of recovery. So that's my concern, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. If there's no other comment, clerk will call the roll on the motion to report and refer to Senate Finance.
Senator Norman. No. Senator Newman. No. Senator Obenchain. Senator Lucas.
Aye.
Senator Spruill. No. Senator Edwards. Aye. Senator Deeds. Abstain. Senator Barker. Aye. Senator Marsden.
No.
Senator Eben.
Aye.
Senator Lewis.
No.
Senator Servo. Aye. Senator Mason. Aye. Senator Bell. Aye. Senator Saslaw.
Aye.
8 ayes, 5 nays, 1 abstention.
All right. If there's no other, is there any other business to come before Commerce and Labor? Because this is our last bill. All right? If there's no other business, committee will rise.
Hey, Creek?